Steve and Alan's Pro Tips in a short time. Learn a lot.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Alan.
This one comes from a listener who asked something like, if you're the guest conductor for an honor group, what are the smartest things you can do with that limited time so the day is musical and not miserable?
Yeah, that's a great question. And as always, listeners, we love your questions about topics and guests. So please keep those coming.
You and I have both done a fair amount of honor groups. So let's break it into two buckets. What do you do before the day? And what do you do during the day?
How about I'll take care of the before because I've made more than enough mistakes myself on that one to have some opinions.
Go for it.
All right. So first thing is the programming. You cannot out-rehearse a program that was unrealistic from the start. So if I'm invited to conduct an honor band or an honor jazz band, but I think this applies to people conducting honor choirs or orchestras or anything to that effect, I always try to talk to people who have actually conducted that ensemble recently. So not just the organizer who says, oh, it's a great group, but the folks who can tell you realistically what the group could or couldn't pull off.
Yeah, that's big. The organizer's heart is usually in the right place. They got a lot of faith in the students, but their idea of, oh, this group can do the grade 3.5 stuff might not match reality.
Right. And one thing to remember, folks, is those musicians as individuals, they very well could each handle grade 3 material or maybe play grade 3 material with their own bands. But this is a brand new group that's never been together and is going to have very limited rehearsal time. So yes, I think the organizer's heart might be in the right place, and they might even be correct in terms of what those students are playing in their home groups, but it's just much different. So once I've got a realistic sense of their level based on what the recent conductors have told me, I try to build the program with a very deliberate move. I always include at least one piece that is clearly much easier than the rest of them.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's a Shanley trademark, and it's smart.
Yeah, so if the rest of the program is a grade 2, I'm going to have at least a grade 1.5 piece in there that I know they're going to sound fantastic on with very little rehearsal. That one notch easier piece does 3 things, in my opinion. It gives the kids a win early in the rehearsal, like, yeah, this group is good. We sound great. It also gives you a safety net if the harder literature is going to chew up more rehearsal time than you expected. And in my particular case, it lowers my blood pressure by quite a bit.
Better than drugs. And it's not dumbing down the experience. It's giving them something that they can just own, sound awesome on.
For sure. And if they can already play through it very quickly, the pitches and the rhythms, and then we get to dive right into making music and shaping lines, awesome. That's not dumbing down at all. So, yeah, I think these groups come with nerves. They have weird schedules and, like I said, limited time. So I'd rather see an easier program played well and musically than a heroic program that just barely hangs together.
Yeah, SWEBA 2010. I still owe all those students an apology for that one. Okay, let's jump to the day of the event. First, the warm-up. I'm going to say something that might make some people nervous. Don't warm up too much.
Well, that doesn't make me nervous because that matches exactly what I do.
Yeah, we want them to get them physically ready or vocally ready in case of an honor choir, but do something predictable and efficient so they get used to your conducting and your demeanor. This is not the day for a 25-minute block of fundamentals like you might do with your home group in September to get them all used to each other. You just have a handful of hours. They're experienced kids. Trust them.
Yeah, I like to do a quick warm-up that checks the tone, balance, listening, gets them used to my conducting and watching me. And as soon as those things are accomplished, I quickly move on.
Yeah, and then after that, I like to run the whole program once, concert order, beginning to end, minimal stopping.
Yeah, I also like to run the entire program. I differ in that I like to have the easier piece first, even if that isn't going to be the first thing on the program, just to get that win early.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I might take that from this episode, the next honor band I direct. So yeah, but either way, we set that tone early.
Yeah, so if we read that easy selection first and it sounds good, we bank an early win. Then I move on to the more demanding pieces. And during that whole run through, I resist the urge to stop and fix. This is very difficult for me, but I'm marking my score as I go along with notes of areas that we need to go back and address. And it might be as specific as the low brass or lost at measure 57, or it might be something general like, yeah, this piece might be a little bit too difficult for this group.
Yeah, I'll only stop if something truly falls apart or a whole section is clearly lost and we just need to restart so they know where we are. But otherwise, I just run it, listen, make those notes. That pass is diagnosis, not treatment.
Then I like to give them a short break. It's probably too short for me, but I look at the score quickly and ask, all right, what does the group actually need from me today?
Yeah, that's when I triage, for lack of a better word. Is anything clearly too hard? Do I need to cut a whole piece or a section? And then what are the big danger zones that are going to tank their confidence if we ignore them?
Yeah, so let's talk about cutting because people tend to hate that. That's something I'm okay with, I think, because as a composer and arranger, the end result is I want it to sound good. So if you want to cut 8 measures of something I wrote because it's not sounding good, I got no problem with that. But yeah, people seem to hate it.
And thinking about the audience, as much as those parents love their kids, they don't love sitting on bleachers. So a concert that's one hair too short is not something that they complain about. We got to remember we are absolutely allowed to cut a piece or a segment. That's not failure, that's stewardship. 3 strong pieces is better than 4 where they're hanging on by their fingernails. Did I mention Suiba 2010?
Well, I as well have written myself into trouble before with programs that were a little bit too ambitious, especially the first couple that I did. The times that I was willing to say, you know what, we're just going to drop this one. It just made the entire day and the performance better for everyone. And sometimes, like I said, it could involve just cutting a bit of a piece. This admittedly is easier with a jazz band selection, for example, where maybe the development or the shout section doesn't go together as quickly as we hope. You just play the intro, play the solo section, go back and play the head out, and it works fine. No one knows the difference.
And once I've decided what stays, then I start thinking about confidence and clarity. So I'll usually work the ends of pieces first. If the last page sound great early, then people tend to relax and have optimism and confidence as they head into that close. Then I like to shore up the beginnings so they know we can start well as well. So then we start well and we end well. And then I hit transitions and other danger zones, tempo changes, exposed parts, stuff like that.
Let me go back to programming real quick. One more thing to add is to remain very flexible. So I walk in with a plan, but that first full run through is where I confirm whether or not the plan is realistic. So if the supposed easy piece is actually the only one that sounds good, that's my wake up call to be flexible and adjust my plan for the day.
And that's where the ego check can come in. We don't want the mindset of we will play all 4 pieces no matter what, because that's what I planned back in April. And that's what I told them I was going to do. That's about you, not the students, not the audience.
Right. Your job, send them home feeling like they belonged in that group, not like they just barely survived it.
True for honor bands, choirs, orchestras, jazz ensembles, all of it. Choir directors, if that a cappella piece is not quite going to lock in today, it's not a moral failing to cut it or add a little accompaniment.
Yeah, and I'd add to that tempo. Sometimes we go in to an honor group and we have a lyrical piece in particular that we'd like to perform at a certain speed. And for whatever reason, at the tempo we want to go, they can't make the phrases, they can't quite support with good sound. Speed that baby up. If the reference recording was 72, but the group sounds a lot better singing it at 84 or 88, trust me, the composer is going to want that as well. So let's land this plane here with a quick summary, Alan.
All right. Before the day, talk to recent conductors, not just organizers, about their group's real abilities. Build in at least one piece that's clearly easier than the rest. That's your confident win. And don't overprogram. Heroic on paper is miserable in the room.
And on the day of, keep the warm-up short and functional. Get to know the students, let them get to know you, and move on. Run the entire program front to back with minimal stops. Use it to diagnose, not to fix. Consider starting with the easy piece so you can get an early win. During that first break, do some triage. What needs to be cut? What needs to be simplified? What do you need to prioritize? In the rehearsal blocks themselves, I suggest endings, beginnings, transitions, and danger zones in that order. And don't be afraid to cut a piece or a section if it's clearly out of reach for today.
The big goal is simple. We want them to leave thinking, hey, that was challenging, but I sounded great and we grew today. Not, I faked my way through that whole concert.
And again, thanks to the listener who asked about this. These are the kinds of questions that make us better too.
Yeah, keep those ideas coming, Kayla, and everybody else out there, for topics and for guests. They really do shape what we do.
All right. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, Steve.
Steve and Alan's Pro Tips in a Short Time. Learn all.